Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Pink Nest podcast. I'm having Eri with me today, dialing in from Bali.
Hi.
And she is the founder and lead coach of Relearn Love. So we're going to be talking about relationships and love and personal stories as well. She's also a TEDx speaker. And she's working with clients across 6 continents, which is something I definitely love. So welcome, Eri, to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
We always start at the beginning. So childhood. What was your childhood like? And did you think you're going to be what you are today when you grew up?
No. My childhood was amazing. I'm very blessed to have been raised by 2 amazing parents who love to teach marriage classes in our church. And I have 3 younger siblings. And I really thought that I was going to be an international spy when I grew up. And I'm not a spy, but I am very international. So that's great.
Not yet, at least. You never know.
Not yet. No, I did interview with the CIA at one point in my life. I went to business school at the world's #1 international business school. And as I was finishing, the CIA came to interview me. And it was the creepiest interview I've ever done. And I felt more like I was being told my life story by my government. And I was like, I don't think I actually want to do this. And so I turned down my childhood dream and and found another calling.
Yeah, but it's also a great calling. Tell me a little bit more about your earliest impressions of love and relationship. That's something I'm curious about.
Yeah, earliest impressions. I would say, my early impressions were really through the lens of the Midwest of the United States, which was very conservative Christian, and through that lens. And so for me, love was more around like till death do us part, very heteronormative marriage, very much faith-based in a very specific way of showing your faith. And for me, I think that's an incredible way of loving for some people. It was hard for me to figure out how who I am was going to fit into that. I just felt like I couldn't figure it out, but I felt different. I felt very different. And so I struggled to try to figure out, like, what is this love thing? And it led me on all sorts of crazy adventures. And I had my heart broken the first time when I was like maybe 19 years old. We had a fairy tale romance. It was like straight out of a kid's book. We literally were partying in castles with princes and princesses. And like, this is my life. What's going on? And then it didn't work out. And after that, I think I became a bit more jaded and I stopped believing in this idea of the Disney fairy tale. And it really inspired me to get curious around what else is out there and what else is possible. And I started learning about the many different ways that we can love and be loved and how we really haven't been given great models. I mean, my parents did the best they could and they did a great job. And I think all of our parents in general did the best they could with the tools they had. But what I discovered in my own journey was that we weren't given great tools, and we have really great tools available to us today, especially thanks to science and research. We know what works in love and relationships. We know it doesn't. But most of us don't even know that data is available or those tools are available to us. So we're still trying to figure it out and getting stuck a lot and kind of feeling like we should be better. And there's a lot of shame around not being good at love and relationships. And I think it's way harder than it needs to be. And I see that in the world, and I see it having a ripple effect into people's parenting and their families and their communities and their leadership at work. It's a big deal.
So before somehow with being a coach, now you have merged these things together. So there was a lot of things you had to learn, but there were also a lot of things you had to unlearn.
Yes.
Are you able to share a little bit of this? Because this is an interesting concept, which I think most people will find it very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the main things that I'll call myself a relationship geek. I've been a relationship geek for most of my life, just really curious around like, how do people connect? What is intimacy? What is love? How do we relate? And like, how do we communicate or not communicate? And there's one thing that I see across the globe. There are many things I see across the globe, but one big one is that when we're younger, we don't understand that conflict is a normal part of being in a relationship, any deep, meaningful relationship. It's going to happen. There's always harmony, disharmony, and repair. And most of us didn't learn how to be in conflict in a healthy way. And we develop all these amazing trauma responses when we're children. And it helps us navigate things when we don't have power and authority. So you're probably familiar with at least 3 of them. We have the fight, flight, freeze, and the last one is fawning or people pleasing. And I watch, and this shows up around love a lot. And for me, this is one of my biggest challenges, right? So I have my way of handling conflict, which is a huge piece of being in relationship with my husband for a long time. And it's like, okay, well, how do we be in that tension and not fall back to the really amazing but childish strategies of our trauma responses? For me, I'd want to flee. I'd want to get out of there as soon as possible. And then I'd want to fawn and try to like, is everything okay? Let me just say or do the right thing, and I'm sure it'll get better. And this situation will clear up. And while I think those are interesting responses, I think that we can, for me, I had to unlearn falling back on those. I can notice when I want to do them because I've been practicing them for decades. But for me, I had to unlearn those and relearn a way of loving and holding myself with more compassion and being able to speak my truth in a more powerful way that didn't hurt my husband, right? And so it's like I get to be heard, but I also get to create a safe space for him to be heard. And that has been one of the most amazing things I have relearned on this journey about like what is healthy love and what was healthy relationships. And I can't tell you how many hours and weeks and probably months of my life I've gotten back thanks to knowing how to navigate that and do a beautiful repair after creating space for being in conflict.
And do you think that, I mean, a lot of times when I'm talking about relationships with people, often it comes to light that you need to start learning and loving yourself first to be able to hold a space then for either your husband, partner, or just people around you to be able to give them the space they need. How do you see this perspective?
Oh, I totally agree. And I think it's very confusing because many people have been sold this story that all you have to do is find your better half. And I think that's really dangerous because number one, it means that you're not whole by yourself. You're not a whole individual, and neither is the person you're going to call in, which feels kind of icky to me. I'm like, I want to be a whole person and I want my partner to be a whole person. And I want us to be an even stronger unit when we're together. So letting go of that story has been really huge, and it has allowed me to love myself even more deeply and not be dependent on someone else for my own happiness. I get to love on me. I get to develop myself and be the human that I want to be. And my husband supports and compliments and encourages and helps me grow. And we're on this growing path together. But the more deeply I love myself and the more deeply he loves himself, the more we are surprised and delighted that it expands our capacity to give and receive love. And that is huge. So yes, I think all great relationships begin with your relationship with self.
It's interesting how actually deeply rooted this kind of narratives are in our society, isn't it? And this is all over the world. This is not like European focus or something, but it's really, we see this all over the place. I mean, all over it has the same narrative, like this meeting your other half or better half, or, you know, everything when it comes to a relationship, it's all somehow you're just one half of the story, but you're actually a whole story, right?
Yes, and a great story at that. And how great that you get to share your story with somebody else who has a great story.
Yeah. Tell me now a little bit more about Relearn Love. How did it come to light? And was there a specific turning point when you knew you had to build something that didn't exist yet? Because it's obviously a little bit, it is different. It's not like weird. You say, yeah.
Yeah. My husband has a TEDx talk too, and his is all around the power of being weird. So if you get a chance, check out Jamin Patel. He's a very sexy Indian dude. So, but for me, for me, I decided to, after going to business school, to pursue a career in leadership development. And I got hired by Amazon.com. And I was there for about 5 years and loved my time there. And as more time and trust was established with my executives, I discovered some interesting things that were happening behind closed doors. And I remember just this one moment very vividly when I was sitting in one of my one-on-ones with my executive named Bill, and he kept like being very fidgety and checking his phone and like just wasn't really present. And like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, yeah. And then he went back to that same like checking his phone thing. And I said, Bill, I've known you for a while. It seems like something's off. Are you open to sharing with me what's going on? And he just gave this like sigh. He's like, ugh. He's like, can I tell you something personal? Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And at that time I was already a certified coach. And so I knew how to coach the whole person. And he started opening up to me about his marriage and how he had a huge fight with his wife. Things were like the night before, and he was still checking his phone to see if she replied because there was still this unresolved conflict. And things were really tough in his marriage right now. And he was feeling very lonely. And I could just see how much it was draining his focus and his leadership. And I asked, would you be okay if I coached you around your dynamic with your wife? And soon that became a thing where I was working with him and supporting him in his marriage. And then they referred me to other people, and they referred me to other people. So by day, I'm working at Amazon doing leadership development. And then in evenings and weekends, I'm coaching executives at Google, Apple, Microsoft, Boeing, SpaceX, Relativity, Facebook, right? It's just like tech and aerospace was like my people. And it turned out that, it doesn't matter how successful people are, how much we've climbed the corporate ladder, how many responsibilities we hold in life. For almost all of us, we didn't learn the very basic principles around how to really be in love and relationships. And it has an impact on our careers. So I believe that if we talk about leadership without talking about love, we're missing out on something extremely important here. So after a while, I was just like, you know what? I have so much more fun talking about the bedroom and influencing the boardroom. I think I'm going to just do this for a living. So I quit my job at Amazon. I wrote a best-selling book called Relationship Agreements. And I started my own company called Relearn Love and started traveling the world, teaching leaders all about this intersection of love and leadership. And that's been over a decade now. And I absolutely love helping the world through being a relational consultant and showing people there's a whole nother way to look at this, that it doesn't have to be that hard. And there are very clear patterns that show up for all of us. There's 7 patterns that I've spotted that everyone's got at least one, maybe 2. And when we know what they are, then we can learn exactly what works for how to apply the right steps and change our love, change our relating, change our leadership. It can have such an amazing impact on the world. And that's what I love to do today.
One thing you also talk about is loneliness. You talk about loneliness loop. What is this actually? Explain a little bit. And why do so many people get stuck in it and without even realizing it?
Yeah. So I think probably everyone listening has felt lonely before in their life, whether you're single or in a relationship. Loneliness is a real thing. And you could even be laying in bed next to your significant other and feel lonely, right? And I think loneliness is an emotion that most of us try very hard to avoid. And most of us didn't learn how to be with our emotions at all. We don't have a lot of depth and emotional mastery and understanding what emotions are, what their function is, and what they're here to do in our lives. And when we can understand that, I was talking with one of my clients last weekend, and she's this top IT exec, and she was very hesitant to work with me. And we got on a call, we were talking about what it is. And she's like, I'm just very logical. And I'm afraid I'm really afraid of what you're going to try to teach me because I'm afraid it's not going to be logical enough. I'm like, oh no, this is logic. I got you. I love spreadsheets. I'm a huge spreadsheet geek and I love data and science. And what we're going to do is apply the science and data that you haven't learned yet into your relationships so you can understand it better. And one of the big things is emotions have a very clear purpose. They don't want to hang around for a long time. They want to drop off a message and keep going. And most of us are so afraid of emotions because of how our parents or culture responded to us having big emotions as a child that we just try our best to sweep them under the rug or push them away or ignore them. That it's kind of like the owls in Harry Potter. I just finished reading Harry Potter with my kiddos, but I love this scene in the movie in the book where there's an owl trying to drop off a message to Harry, and and like the mean family of Harry's is like boarding up the windows and the chimney.
Mm.
Eventually, all these like hundreds of owls come bursting in, delivering all these letters, right? And I think it's the same thing. Like our emotions just want to be the owl that comes in, drops off the message, and keeps going. But because we're working so hard to push these things away, it's only going to make it even worse when the dam finally breaks and the owls get in. It's going to be a mess. So
Mm.
loneliness is that. Loneliness is this part of us that wants to tell us an important message about what's going on in our heart and what needs to shift in our lifestyle and what needs to shift in how we're showing up. And when we continue to push that away, we get stuck in this loop where it's like we go deeper and deeper into our loneliness and we spiral out of control. What we want to do is learn how to break those patterns, that loneliness is a messenger and we don't have to stay in it forever. And there is a way to tune in and be with our emotions so we can receive the message and start to breathe and see and new things again. Think creatively. There we go.
Mm. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. It's also like, I think people are, I think this is also rooted in our, either in culture or just also in parenthood, I guess, how we were taught, or I don't know, because loneliness in general, it has this bad connotation, right? It's like, it's not good.
Yes.
But it's not true. It's
Right.
absolutely not true. It's a very, I mean, people say, there are two aspects of it. One is being alone and one is being lonely. So this is
Right.
not the same. And people are mixing this really a lot. Because being alone, it's not a bad thing. You're actually not alone. You're with yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
My husband and I were just talking about this because I'm leaving tomorrow to head to the TED conference in Vancouver, and then off to an amazing event called Summit at Sea in the Caribbean. So I'm going to be traveling for the next month, doing a lot of networking and seeing clients. And so my husband is solo parenting with the 2 kiddos for the whole month. And he and I were talking about what's really important so that we maintain this ability to stay grounded, especially when we're solo parenting. And I said, make sure you get enough alone time. Make sure you get time to just be by yourself. The kids are at school or whenever it might be, so that you can like invest in a relationship with yourself, because otherwise our nervous systems are constantly trying to juggle and balance everything with our work and our families and stress and like driving stress, even just commuting, right? It's like it all adds pressure on our nervous system. So it's like, how do we invest in being alone so that we can recharge and be ready to really show up in the world with full presence?
For people who've been together for years, maybe even decades, and feel disconnected or stuck, what gives you confidence it's not too late if they want to, I don't know, reignite the fire or repair or whatever? What is this shift also you most commonly see in couples who do this work? Because I think this is very something. I think a lot of people will relate to this topic.
Yeah. First of all, I think I want to just say this. When people come to me, they usually come as a couple. Maybe one person is taking the lead and kind of holding the other person's hand, right? And like, let's talk to someone. But I think there's something really important about being open to getting support. And that's the number one thing, because I think number one, there's a lot of shame put on this idea of getting support on love and relationships. There's that pressure to just be good at it, right? And there's a really negative connotation around learning these skills when it comes to love. So, I mean, if you say, I'm going to start a business, I'm hiring a business coach, people are like, yeah, of course you are. You're going to learn from all their past mistakes. It's going to be great. You're going to be making money faster. If I say, oh, I'm going to learn tennis, they're like, yeah, of course you're hiring a tennis coach. You're going to learn the proper swing. You're not going to screw up your shoulder and have to go get surgery later. You're playing better, faster. And if I say, hey, I hired a therapist or a relational consultant, so people are like, oh, I'm so sorry. Things must be really bad for you and your husband, right? It's like this pressure that you can't learn. You're not supposed to go learn. If you go talk to somebody who's an expert in this area, it means there's something wrong with you, which, Nika, I get to travel the world. And one of my favorite questions I like to ask when I teach classes or speak on stage is, how many happy, healthy, long-term couples do you personally know? And I don't care how you define it. What is happy, what is healthy, what is long-term to you? And what is most surprising to me, maybe not any more surprising, but I'm sad about it, is that 90% of every audience, except for 3 in the past decade, have raised their hand between 1 and 4 couples total. That's all they know. They know 1 and
Mm,
4 couples. So we
mm,
don't actually know people who are doing this well.
mm,
And yet there's pressure and shame if we try to learn these skills. So it's really challenging for people to figure out, what do I do with this? And I think that's one of the reasons why I love, I'm really shifting away from, I'm not a therapist, and I'm shifting away from coaching specifically and moving towards relational consulting, because what I do is very strategic, and it's very much like, let's just go in. So what I used to do at Amazon, I'm like, let's go in and find the problem and get a very clear strategy, and let's get moving on this quickly, because you don't have to stay stuck in this place. It's very solvable,
mm,
but both people need to want to show up. So going back to your question of, what do long-term couples, like what's this, what can really help with this? What really makes a shift? You have to have both people decide to lean in into the discomfort, into the not knowing, and decide, okay, I'm going to be curious, even though we might have been stuck in this pattern for decades, right? Maybe I've lost
mm,
a lot of hope, but I'm still going to give this a shot. And that's where the magic can come in, when people can say, okay, we don't have to keep the same recipe. And guess what? I'm not the same person now as I was 6 months ago, let alone 6 years ago, and neither is my beloved. So
mm,
how great that we get to evolve together. And it's no longer till death do us part is a successful marriage. What if you're happy and that's a successful,
mm.
right? That's what I want for the world. Like, you feel happy and in love, and that passion is reignited in a way that feels true and authentic and safe and free for you.
Yeah, and this just shows me once again how, because I think the biggest thing here is people are just assuming, how don't you know how to love? This is just something that probably everybody thinks, but it's something wrong with you. How don't you know how to love? This is something that everybody thinks like, okay,
Yes.
yeah, we were born with this or something.
Yes.
And I think it's this understanding of how can't you not know how to love? This must be
Yeah.
something must be terribly wrong with you, I
Something must be
guess.
terribly wrong. And
Yeah,
yet,
yeah.
when I sit down and talk to those people, I'm like, tell me about your love life. Tell me what you get stuck
Mm,
on. Tell me what's hard. Do you actually feel heard when you speak to your partner? Do you
mm,
actually feel like you guys get each other and that you can love each other and accept each other for how you are? Or do you feel like you're self-sacrificing or fighting or chasing one and the other person's pulling away? Like, it's like, when we start to actually dive into it,
mm,
almost everyone I know is stuck in some place that they don't have to be stuck in anymore.
mm. And also this growing, this is a great thing that you've mentioned, how much people actually change. And it's, of course, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. I'm not even the same person I was yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and it's I think this is one of the biggest, I'm not going to say problems, but problems in brackets maybe, that people are just, they fell in love with a person and then they are stuck in this image of a person that was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It's, this updating process is somehow stuck there. And obviously we are not the same as we were when we met. It would be
No.
crazy. I mean, you are evolving every day, basically.
Yes.
So I think updating your, whatever it is, image or whatever, it's super important. I
Super.
think yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think in the traditional marriage, it makes it harder, because I think when we say that vow, if you choose to get married, a lot of times you say a vow, something to the effect of, until death do us part, right? And it's a beautiful sentiment, but we also see that it's not a guarantee. And we all know people who are married for a long time and are not happy. And we also have seen the divorce statistics are around 50% globally. So it's
Mm,
not a guarantee, and yet people treat it as if it is. And they just become complacent. It's like, well, this is how it is now that we're married. And my husband and I are married, but every calendar year we tune in to our marriage and we say, how is this going? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how is this marriage going? And what do
mm,
we need to let go of? And what do we need to do better? And do we even want to do this again? And if the answer is yes, then we get married again. Like, we have a whole wedding we've had 10 weddings in our lifetime so far. And the 6th year was not a yes. Like the 6th year was really dark and hard. And our kids were old enough that we weren't so focused on parenting because we started our family very quickly and that's what we wanted to do. And then we discovered how hard adding parenting into relationships is. And so around the 6th year, we both were in a tough spot and we decided to take some space and just do some real deep inner work and come back and do what we created as a relationship death ritual. And we went through this whole beautiful ceremony of killing off the things that weren't working for us and taking responsibility of what was not serving this relationship and apologizing and doing deep repair and then saying what we wanted to call in instead and creating space for a whole new relationship. It was amazing. And now we've had these, and it felt like we got remarried right after that. I was like, wow, this is insane. We didn't know we could do this. And I've led so many clients on this relationship death ritual now. And I'm always amazed at what's possible when we stop thinking that this is how things always have to be. And instead saying, you have so much freedom to create whatever you want year after year, month after month. You just have to get curious and decide, I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to just be complacent with things not being amazing. And that's where the magic is.
I could be talking about this forever. I'm so sad it's going so fast.
I warned you before the call started. She's like, what? You're like, maybe 20, 30 minutes. Like, watch out, you go for hours.
No, this is actually, I'm super passionate about these topics. I mean, people are my passion and relationships in general. So this is something that as I said, I could be talking about this forever. But I do have 2 more things for you.
Let's do it. I'm in.
You're describing choice as the magic ingredient of love. Tell us a little bit more about the choice because you've mentioned it already. And people believe, I think people believe that in a relationship that's not successful, they don't have a choice, but we do, right?
We always do. We always have a choice. And it might not be an easy choice. And it may not be one that we thought that we'd ever have to make, but we do have a choice. And I would just encourage anybody who feels like they have lost their choice to really tune into that story. And how is that story serving you? Yeah, I'm really such a huge fan of, if you've heard of Byron Katie, she created The Work. Now in this, for anybody who doesn't know, I'll give a quick summary. She created these 4 questions and you take one of those stories. So like the story here might be, I don't have a choice. This is just how it is, right? And then the first question you ask after you have that short story is it true? And it's yes or no. And you might be like, well, kind of, fine. The second question is it absolutely true? In no other alternate universe could this not be true? And the answer is always no. The third question is, who am I when I believe that story? Well, if I believe the story that I have no choice, that this is just how it is, I'm probably going to be very resigned. I'm probably going to be maybe a little bit depressed. I'm probably going to self-sacrifice. I'm probably going to give up a lot of the things that I used to find as ideal or what I dreamed of, right? And it's like we just become complacent and I bet quite resentful. I see this building up in a lot of people, resentment, just it eats away at the soul. And then the fourth question is, who would I be without that story? And it's like, if you believed you still had a choice, what would change? I'm guessing you might be more curious. I'm guessing you might be open to trying new things. I'm guessing you might consider other paths that maybe you didn't consider before, even some that you didn't want to consider that might be harder, but we never know. And maybe because of choosing a different story, of choosing to have choice. Wow, this is getting complicated. Because of choosing to have choice, you can find your freedom and you can find more happiness and you can find more empowerment and aliveness in yourself to see what is possible now. Because I believe everything is possible. We just have to go beyond ourselves.
That's super important topic. I never thought about this way. Now we're wrapping up, unfortunately. But I'm definitely getting your book. I think I can. This is really something. Not really. This is really something I'm really interested in. And I definitely want to hear what you have to say more about. What So after years of coaching, because you're doing now this for a really long time, and for someone listening right now who feels like love has just been out of reach, what would you want them to hear and to know? Just one wrapping up sentence or two.
Yeah, I just, my husband owns a company called Everything is Possible. And I used to think that was a little bit ostentatious maybe. And now I really believe that. If you're out there and you're listening and something is resonating with you, if something is like, "Whoa, what is this? It feels kind of weird." Then I just invite you to trust that and follow it and see what is possible when you begin to shift your stories, when you begin to trust and love, when you begin to relearn love and gather the skills that you need, either in your current partnership or if you're single and you want to call in a really magical partnership. It's all available to you and everything is possible. It's not your fault that you didn't learn. So now is your chance to make the choice to learn and change that and really experience the love that you desire. And I know it's possible. And I am just sending you that confidence and that blessing and that permission to go out there and relearn love and have the love that you want.
Love this. Thank you.
Yeah.
This was such a lovely chat, Eri. I think we could go forever. Thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast. And best of luck with your future work as well.
Thank you. And can I share one thing real quick?
Absolutely.
So I'm crossing my fingers on this one. You can ping me if I'm wrong, but by the time this podcast is live, there should be a quiz that talks about these patterns and it's free. If you go to relearnlove.com/quiz, it'll be there. And if you're like, I'm wondering what my pattern is, go take the quiz. It should be live by the end of this week. So by the time you listen to this, it should be there. But it's a resource coming very soon for all of you. So
perfect. I'm definitely making this one as well.
Yay!
Thank you, Eri. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.